Thank you, Assam, and thank you for hosting another wonderful IoT cracking event. My first event was actually last year in Dubai, and I'm very fortunate to be here for the second event. As Assam said, my name is Maatje Rencken, and I'm the VP for Digital Solutions for ZainTECH. Just a little bit on ZainTECH for some of you that might not know the name so well. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Zain as the big telco, which is headquartered in Kuwait. About 2 years ago, Zain spun off some of their technology companies into a dedicated digital company called ZainTECH. So we are focused on 5 main business units within ZainTECH. We look after cloud, so we service managed cloud from all the different multiplayers. We've got our own cloud in all the countries, but also we work with Google, Oracle, Microsoft Azure. We look after cybersecurity. Of course, in today's world, if you want to sell cloud and digital solutions, everything has to be very secure. We've spoken about data a lot today, and we've got a dedicated data and data science team to make sure we optimize all of the solutions we provide. We also have a drones and robotics division, which I'll talk about a little bit later on how we utilize this to help us with data capture and automation and optimization in different industries. And then lastly, the division that I look after is digital solutions. And in the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more on our approach, our methodology, and how we tackle specifically helping companies optimize, but also work towards a greener, whether it's a greener industry, whether it's a greener building, whether it's a greener municipality, or eventually a greener city as well. So without further ado, I think I've actually removed some slides because it was very interesting to hear the previous speakers talk about a lot of the stuff I was already going to speak about. So I've left some of it out to not be repetitive. But what I would like to do is show a few videos at the end where we've already implemented some of these solutions. So it will be a little bit of a conclusion, I think, of some of the topics that's already been discussed today. So what we do as a digital division within ZainTECH, we don't talk technology, and we don't look at technology as a topic of discussion with our business users. We typically talk to the CCOs, the CEOs in a business and not the IT people. And we focus on business problems. So as part of our advisory, very similar to our colleagues in Alphatain, we offer this consulting service where we sit down with the end users, we understand what the business problem is that they are trying to solve, and then we've got an ecosystem of technologies and platforms that we use to actually solve this business problem. So the first thing we do when we look at these business problems is actually all resolved around data. Everything we do is resolved around data. So when we identify a business problem, and let's say sustainability is our business problem. A company has to be a sustainable business. What do? We look at the problem, you need to be sustainable. What data do you need to enable you to make your company sustainable? This is the first step. In 9 out of 10 cases, there's a lot of data missing. Companies already have rich data sets that they can use to do some optimization, but today everybody's on a different journey of digitization. So there's always data sets missing. And this is where our second, third, and fourth boxes and capabilities actually come in. So we look at the data sets that's missing. We implement those platforms. So if we quickly go through them, smart video, LiDAR, and GIS, few examples. If we talk about a smart facility, we want to automate and track access control. We want to do the footfall. Let's say retail. Retail is probably a better example. We want to do the heat maps, the people counting, the analysis of the flow of people, the smart parking through a mall. With that heat maps and people counting, we can also start optimizing the use of the facility as well. You can charge more if people are in shops that's got bigger footfall. You can potentially charge less when there's less footfall. You can adjust your cleaning schedule for your washrooms if you haven't that X amount of footfall through your building. So again, it's just data collection through the use of video analytics. We have very mature LiDAR algorithms that can do the same analytics as video, but of course you don't have to record people and you don't have to capture sensitive information. So with advanced analytics and AI, you can also do footfall, heat maps, intrusion detection, perimeter control, safety, etc. And the benefit of putting all this into models is you can map this on a GIS location. So you can track and see objects and people, even if you're not using video analytics, through something like LiDAR as well. So data analytics or video analytics, I tend to now use as sensors, smart sensors that can be used across, again, buildings, cities, industries like oil and gas, etc., etc. A very rich data source that we use for all sorts of analytics. The second one, of course, why we're here today is IoT. We're in partnership, of course, with DisruptX. So as ZainTECH, we use the DisruptX platform white labeled in all the 8 countries that we operate to roll out to our clients as part of our ecosystem. I don't think I have to go into the use cases for IoT for sustainability. We all know environmental, preventative for leakage, for vibration, etc. So all that data that we collect from IoT is, of course, a massive contributor to build up the data that we need to get to a sustainable environment. Something that's very, very interesting, and we do a lot of work in ZainTECH with drones and robotics. A few examples or use cases where this is used towards sustainability as well. Of course, we support our telco. We're part of a big telco group, and we deploy drones for the telco towers inspections. Of course, you can imagine the work that's needed, the permits that's needed, the infrastructure that's needed to get people up the towers to do the inspections. 9 out of 10 times, the inspections are not preventative. They're reactive. Something's gone wrong, something's gone down. Where if you have a drone, you can schedule them on a regular basis. You don't have to send people up heights and dangerous environments. And of course, with AI, the quality of data we can capture with a drone that can fly close to the asset and also automatically pick up any issues. We've seen with a lot of the footage we've taken, an inspector has gone up the tower, done the inspection, cleared everything. We send a drone up and we pick up 4 or 5 issues. Because of course, we're human, we make mistakes, we may be not as clear or as diligent as we have to be. We do this for electricity towers, we do this for roads and highways, the inspections. One of our very good use cases in Kuwait is we do agriculture and vegetation inspections with drones, and of course assisted by IoT devices as well. But there is a massive energy saving or sustainability topic there, because with the precision watering models we can suggest based on the footage and the IoT devices, you can water just specific parts of your field or your park or your farm, and you can do pesticides very specifically only in certain areas where it's needed. So one, you save water, you only water where water is needed, as and when it's needed as well. But you also don't spray unnecessary pesticides, for example, into the environment, and you only spray it where it's actually needed. That's one simple example of building the sustainability story using these. Oil and gas, of course, we use this a lot, where we use drones, but we also use on-the-ground robotics. So where you don't want to send people in with toxic fumes, if there's a fire, if there's a leakage, we can send either a drone or a robot into these areas. They can do the inspection, they can send the footage back, and we can automatically deal with whatever incident is. So you don't have to send people in. We do a lot of the big aviation fuel tanks that has to be drained every so often and inspected. Again, they have to be out of service for quite a while to clear the fumes. Instead of sending a person in to do that with all the gear, we send a robot in or a drone and we capture all the information. We do the inspection. So again, that builds the sustainable story, keep people safe without exposing them to these toxic fumes. So once we've identified the business problem, we've identified the data sets that's needed to solve the business problem, let's say sustainability. We have implemented the different missing data sets, which could be a variation of video analytics, IoT, drones and robots. It doesn't help us unless we do something with all this data. So this is where we have our automation platform, where we turn the new data sets, turn it into actionable insights, and actually do something with it. This could be multiple examples of this, but yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. Once all this data is coming into a central place, and we've spoken about data optimization a lot as well, we see the biggest value and the biggest ROI for all of these technology implementations actually come in building optimization, machine learning, and deep learning models. No human being can actually look at hundreds and thousands of records of data and actually make sense of it. Where if you understand your business problem, we have all the data available. This is where the machine learning tools is very, very good. And they will look for a needle in a haystack, whether it's an exception, whether it's a trend that you want to look at, whether it's a preventative action you can potentially take, whether it's an optimization recommendation potentially of scheduling of something as simple as your staff rotas based on data that you've analyzed and see. This is where the ROI actually comes in for investing into these technologies. And then my favorite topic, I know it's been discussed a lot today, is digital twin. With all this data, with the optimization, unless you can visualize this into a actionable and usable front end, it's very, very difficult, even with machine learning, to know what has been actioned. Do I need to action it now? Has it actually been actioned? Unless you can have a sort of a command and control center where all of this is visualized and trackable from a day-to-day management perspective. So, of course, this is all the platforms and ecosystem that we use when we take companies through a digital transformation. Underlining, of course, is cloud. This needs to be hosted. The infrastructure has to be there. Cybersecurity needs to make sure all the data is secure. And then, of course, we have our data that needs to make sure everything is analyzed and we get the full value out of our investments. So very interestingly, we work closely with UL and Spire as a partner, and they do the building standards, American company, for looking at what a smart, sustainable building looks at. And if you look at these categories, I think a lot of companies tend to look at the first one, which is focusing on your power savings and your energy savings, and probably the last one, which is your sustainability. But if you look at what actually categorizes a real smart building, there's your health and well-being of your people in your building. So, of course, that's where all the IoT devices come in. We've spoken about the school example for Razi, indoor quality, the temperature checks, etc., etc. Life and property safety. So you've got a responsibility to make sure, of course, the property is safe, the systems are integrated. When there's alarm raised, there'll be an immediate action. Situational awareness. So again, what is happening on the premises? How do we need to act on it to make sure that the event is managed? Connectivity. This is where we can't live without, of course, if the devices are there, but it's not connected, if it's not covering the right areas, if it's not safe and secure, it's not going to help. Cybersecurity, we've spoken, making sure with all this massive amount of data that we collect, we're going to protect the data, we're going to protect people's identities, etc., etc. And then, of course, sustainability, where we check the waste, water, awareness, integration into all the different systems. So one of the use cases we're very proud of when we built our sustainability platform is contributing towards these benefits. We've spoken about it, I think, through the different sessions. Of course, energy savings and efficiencies is one you want to get out of investment into technology if you want to go sustainable. There should be cost savings for your energy bills. Of course, lower emissions. I think we actually participated in COP28 as well, and our platform was showcased there as an example of tracking all of these emissions, tracking energy savings, etc., etc. Of course, you want your building to be comfortable for your occupants. If we can do all of this, we've seen as the previous speakers talk about your increased building value. And then, of course, we help the environment as well. So our platform is quite simply following our 5 steps that I spoke about before. We make sure we collect all the data across multiple sensors, BMSs, whatever information is available in the environment that we operate in. We put all this information together, we optimize it, we visualize it, and this is how we can do real-time reporting on savings, on your emissions, your waste, your water, electricity usage as well. Our system runs in a few countries in the GCC. We've implemented this in one of the, you will probably know if I say it, one of the sustainability cities in the UAE. So our platform runs there over 16 buildings. They've got multiple BMSs, they've got multiple different types of meters. So again, what our platform does is integrate consolidate all these different silos and data sets, visualize it, optimize it, and make sense of it. So again, this is one of the uses of digital twin, but it also showcases the uses of machine learning and AI, where we collect all this data and we can actually optimize. I'm just going to play a short video of our demo. I can't show the production one. But basically, again, we take all the information, we track real time across smart meters, but also IoT devices. We started replacing the traditional energy, water, BTU meters now with IoT devices. A lot more cost effective, of course. We don't have all the civil works that we have to potentially do to retrofit buildings. And we can track on a real-time basis the usage. On the right hand, you can see all the IoT devices that's connected to the building. And this breaks down into all the analytics and data that you can ever want. We also bring in the outside information from weather stations, weather information, environmental information. This gives you the opportunity to do comparisons between different buildings in your city. What we do in the sustainability city, you can do a comparison from one residential building to another to see how the energy are used. But you can also take your building and compare it to the industry standards for residential buildings as well. So it gives you this sort of comparison that you can do in analytics, additional analytics on what you want to do. And very interestingly, the city owners, of course, don't manage these buildings. They rent it out to multiple facility companies with different ideas and data. They want to also know the information on building level, on floor level, but also on tenant level. And this is where the use of IoT is coming in really well. We can add some devices into individual apartments. And as the city owner, we can actually visualize and help them understand the use of the building. One of the buildings, and we go into the digital twin actually of the BMS itself, where we map with our IoT devices the real-time information. We can track, we can control, we can automate right here. So again, if there's a water leakage picked up, we can immediately alert, go into the system, close the valve, and we don't necessarily need to send anybody anywhere. All of this can be done remotely. So it's interesting in our sustainability city, our end user is going to start putting the usage of energy and water and waste into the lobby of each of the buildings, because they said their tenants are actually aware of the fact that they want to live in a sustainable building. They're competing between the different buildings. So I think more and more, this visualization and actually showing the end users of the buildings as well, how they're tracking, whether they're green or red or amber, is a very good way of everybody to join the sustainability story from an adoption perspective. The next video I want to show is just a little bit of a step up. We're not focusing just on sustainability, but this is a digital twin demo of an oil and gas plant where, again, let me just start it. Here we go. Where all the information that I've spoken about, we've got IoT devices implemented, visualized, connected. We have drones and robots, data doing inspections. We have video analytics, cameras shown. We've got fire alarms. And the whole idea of this is you can see as the operations is running, there's people doing inspections. You can see the red routes, the blue routes, and yellow routes. So at any point in time, you can see your inspector with an IoT device, where they are on the plant, what route have they taken. If they've seen anything, you can immediately raise the alarm, raise the work order, and actually action the issue. You'll see it brings up the camera stream. If you've seen an alarm, quickly open up the video analytics, and you can do a manual check if it's a real fire, if it's a false alarm, if it is a real fire again. You want to automate that action of dealing with it. So you'll see the robots are doing inspections currently, and you can real-time tracking the information from the robots on the inspections. They're taking RETA meetings, they're taking footage. So again, at any point in time, if there's an issue, you can deal with that on a real-time basis, all from one centralized command center. So this is really the benefit of having all the data, capturing all the data, automating it, optimizing it, but actually put it in a usable command and control center where you can action it. Unless you have this, it's impossible to deal with the variations, the work orders, the different things that happens. The same platform that we built this on can be used for a building. It can be used for an industry, but it can also be used on city level. So you can just extrapolate this oil and gas plant into a bigger city as well. And it's up to the end user to decide what data points needs to be visualized and connected to this city. That could be traffic, could be your hospital information, your police information, school information if you need to, GDP information, weather information, tourist, airport information, whatever the case may be, sensors around the city for environmental tracking and monitoring. The point is having everything consolidated into a single source of truth, which is not just a dashboard or a report, but a usable, actionable command and control center. So this is where the true value of AI and data optimization comes in. If you can bring all of these components together and you can make this into an industry tool to actually optimize your operations. On that note, I'm done. Thank you.